and it's a line drive to
Key lime margarita?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Just watch.
Whoa.
Hi.
Go for it.
Thanks.
What about me?
Got you covered. Hey!
Whoa.
Hey!
Hey.
Hey.
Lefty O'Doul's drink mixes at these fine stores.
What are you doing? I'm getting the girl back.
I will. Recorded at the Gold Dust Lounge in San Francisco in front of a live audience. Stuffed with beach blanket Babylon burger bites, it's the Will and Willie Show. I'm Paul Wells.
I'm Will Durst.
And I'm Willie the Brown.
And John Burris, and somewhere around
He's right next to me.
John Burris and Amber Lee from KTVU, Channel 2.
Thank you for having us tonight.
You had a question.
I do. I want to direct it to former Mayor Willie Brown. As a leader in the African American community, what would you say to the NFL about their punishment of Ray Rice?
I would say exactly what John Burris said earlier, and that is you really do have to hold yourself accountable for a response in June to a situation that you knew to be outrageously offensive, egregious, and wrong, that suddenly became to light in September. Holding you accountable for that means that you've got to do more than just deal with one player. You've got to deal with the clear virus of violence effective in that institution.
But is it fair what they're doing to him now?
Well, the question of whether or not it's fair, I don't represent him. I wish I did.
John, you want to take that?
Well, the issue of whether or not he should, in fact, be suspended now indefinitely for an event that he had already been punished for, I don't think is necessarily fair because the point of fact is the NFL, as well as the district attorney's office, had all of this information of the kind, either direct information or circumstantial information, evidence, that they easily could have evaluated it and made a decision based upon that evidence. And when they did that, they punished him. I don't believe in ex post facto punishment. That is to say, now that the politics has changed and public relations information is out there, that now we're going to go back and punish him for a crime, in essence, that he should have been punished for before. And so I have some concerns about that. As I said before, the event that he involved in was outrageous. It was the worst form of beating, conduct you can engage in, and he should have been appropriately punished for that. I don't think it's right now to go back and punish him more for the same offense that you've already evaluated. The mistake is not with him. The mistake is with the public, with the NFL and the district attorney's office.
Because I was going to say, which leads me to the other question is, doesn't it start with law enforcement? Because in Atlantic City, I mean, they chose not to crack down on him.
Absolutely, it starts with the district attorney's office. It starts with the police and the district attorney's office. They have the responsibility initially to investigate the case and ultimately bring those charges. These should have been felony charges for assault with the intent to commit great bodily injury, knocking her out, and they ultimately should have worked out something that he would got either a state prison sentence or an extensive county jail sentence. By not doing that, they sent the wrong message to everybody out here that essentially there's two different rules here. The one rule for every ordinary, common, everyday people and a different rule for people in the NFL. And that's essentially what happened. It's a double standard. And that double standard has to be erased, and the communities all throughout the country need to know that if you engage in this type of conduct, you can consistently be sent to prison or you can be sent to a substantial jail, and you get more than some kind of community service or psychological training. You get jail. That's the form of punishment that people can appreciate and acknowledge as being appropriate. That didn't happen here. That's the police fault. That's the district attorney's fault. The lawyer did a good job. I mean, I couldn't fault the defense lawyer. He did what he was supposed to do, get the best deal he could for his client. It's really up to the district attorney's and the judge too. The judge could have not accepted that plea deal. The judge, and that happened in a lot of cases, the judge just says, look, this is not appropriate for what happened here. assuming he's been properly advised. And any judge in this kind of case should have known that this is going to have some real heat on it, and that he should have gotten all the information. And if he did, then he's at fault as much as the lawyers, both the district attorney as well as the police.
Thank you. Let's hear it for Amber Lee from KTVU. Just doing her job, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a Q&A, and I don't know where Wilkes went, but he's welcome to come back for any answers. This microphone's on. Come up to the microphone. Yeah, we're going to have to because you're coming from over there.
This question, Mr. Burris, this is continuing with the police brutality thing. What do you do when the police are not willing to abide by the laws themselves? I have friends who live in New Orleans, and they've equipped the police with cameras that they wear and that are in the cars, and the police are disconnecting them or turning them off.
In New Orleans?
I will say
I'm
that
shocked.
that's one of the real problems with cameras. I mean, we've dealt with this in Oakland, and the issue is, when does the camera get turned on and when does it get turned off? And you can obviously get a distortion if it's not turned on at the proper time. So what you have to do is hold the officers accountable for when that thing is turned on. There have to be some form of discipline that is imposed on them for not turning it on. There should be zero tolerance. And if you don't have that, well, then that's another matter. That goes to the accountability, the supervision, the command staff. You got to hold those people accountable. That even goes to the police chief. You have to have some person up there, whether it's the police chief or the command staff, where you'll say, you are going to lose your job if you don't hold the subordinates accountable, because that's where it really starts. Now, the Department of Justice has come into New Orleans and is looking at a pattern and practice as well. And they will put forth and have put forth a series of reforms, much like what we've done here and much like what they're trying to do in Ferguson, trying to make the department more accountable. That's a long-term process because the police officers have a built-in culture that exists, and it's hard breaking that culture no matter what. I mean, you can do all you can, but it's ultimately a political decision has to be made, and accountability has to come from the command staff to hold them accountable.
Mr. Burris,
otherwise it will never happen.
What kind of sanctions could the Justice Department impose?
Well, what the Justice Department will do, and what they have done in other places, they will make the department write new reforms, whether it's in terms of stop and frisk, whether or not it's searching the police cars, whether or not it's training, internal affairs. They can go through the entire department. And then what they'll do is say, okay, now that you've written these new policies, you now have to train the department on it, and then you have to implement them, and we are going to monitor you. That is to say, like we have in Oakland, we're going to bring an independent monitor in. That person is going to, that team of people are going to audit the department on a semi-annual basis, on a quarterly basis, to determine whether or not they are, in fact, meeting the standards they've set forth.
And what if they don't?
Well, then it's a question of sanctions. You can sanction the department. You can.
How? With what?
Well, you sanction them with money, number one, the city, but more importantly, you can try to bury down and find out who is not in compliance. And if you can find those people out, then you have a situation to do discipline on them. It is a very difficult task.
The Justice Department can impose discipline? They can take out like a commander because the commander is
It depends on what they have done. Generally, they don't have the ability to prosecute people, but they have an obligation to put in standards. The big option is on contempt of court. Now, what we have right now in Arizona, where they have Arpaio, who is the
Maricopa,
who is the sheriff there. That department is scandalous as it treats the Hispanic community down there.
And they've never been sanctioned.
He just
does what he wants. He makes them wear pink underwear. He insults them. It's cruel.
He's done all that. But the Department of Justice have come in now. They've now held them in contempt. They have a new monitor. In fact, they have the same monitor we have in Oakland. And so now they're going to try to bring them under control. Granted, that sheriff is powerful, and he has
it's an elected position, right?
It's an elected position, and they can't terminate him, but they certainly can hold the department in contempt, and they can also try to impose some kind of fines. Ultimately, you want to wheel down and get to the command people, because that's ultimately you got to have the power. You can't really affect the working officers because they are governed by the collective bargaining agreement. But you can do something with the command staff, and who can then do something in terms of the line officers. But it is an intractable, difficult problem.
And leadership comes from the top.
Leadership comes from the top. Without the leadership from the top, you cannot get it done.
We have another question.
On that note, actually,
Laura? Yes.
my question is, what advice would you, Mayor Brown, give to President Obama about how to deal with ISIS?
Speaking of leadership from the top.
That is a challenge.
Well,
Let's hear it, Mr.
being
President.
a inexperienced internationalist on those issues, I think the president needs desperately to farm out dealing with that part of the world to the Israelis. They seem to know what they're doing in every situation.
I think they're in deep doo-doo
involved.
already.
What?
The Israelis.
Yeah, they're in deep.
I think, frankly, if I'm President Barack Obama, I would make sure that one nation in the Middle East that is, without a doubt, interlocked with every aspect of the future of this nation, I would make sure that they are at the forefront of whatever decision that I make in whatever activity that I engaged in, and I would certainly want their advice and counsel instead of lecturing to them about their relationship in Gaza. I would want them to assist me. After all, if we could roll back in time, I think we would embrace Saddam. He seemed to have been able to control every aspect, and he was not ambitious. He simply wanted to be able to spend all of the oil revenues for himself and his family.
He
that
just wanted
was
gold
produced.
faucets. What's wrong with that?
Absolutely, and he literally did what these crazy people who are beheading people would do, and we condemned him for that, and we went over to relieve those people of that potential. And suddenly we discovered that he may very well have had the answer to how to handle those people.
ISIS
So-
got kicked out of Al Qaeda because
Yes,
they were
right.
too
They're-
crazy.
They
Too
are
crazy
too
for Al Qaeda.
totally
Then that is
They are lunatics.
to the right of 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 the extreme Muslim.
And did you read that there was a software company in San Francisco named ISIS? And they had to change their name.
Right.
Kind of like AIDS diet candy. Yes.
So for all
The
those
AIDS diet.
those Ebola exercise bikes, I don't
have to
think
go
they're
back
gonna last
now.
long.
Have to go back.
Yeah, so President Obama obviously is at the moment over-challenged with reference to an answer and a course of action. And when he talks about trying to put together all the people throughout the world to support his decision, most of the people throughout the world will be reluctant, if not totally and completely hesitant, to engage in any conduct. He may very well be on his own.
He might be out of his time because he's a facilitator. He brings people together, and nobody wants to be brought together anymore. In D.C. or in the world.
Certainly not with the guy. You know what? I don't understand why all of those folk that are beheading people want to cover up their face.
Yeah, right.
Because they're from England.
What is that about? Are they
Got
my
an
neighbor?
English accent.
Well, they're from England, that's for sure.
What?
They're from England.
Yeah, they're my neighbor. They really ought to reveal who they are. And if they revealed who they really are, I think we could probably, even Obama could deal with the issue better.
You know, when we started the Will and Willie show, first of all, George W. Bush was president. We had just gone into Iraq, and we had Andy on the air, was on a demo, which we recorded in late 2005. And Andy's take on Iraq, on our going into Iraq, was you break it, you bought it.
You break it, you bought it.
You break it, you bought it. And basically, a decade later, we're still paying for it.
Colin Powell said, you break it, you own it.
Yeah,
Same.
it was Colin Powell, yeah.
Yeah, same principle, right.
Exactly. And so...
Oh, so that's been my trouble with lady friends?
Maybe.
Right.
You break it?
Does
you
anybody
own it.
else have a question for our Will
Does
and
anybody
Willie
else
show
have an
here?
answer?
Yes. Does anybody have a solution for President Obama besides maybe just for men? Which he seems
If
to need
so,
more and more.
Kerry will resign and you can take his place.
Right.
Hagel will resign and you can take his place.
All right, looking
Miss
to
Rice will resign and you can take her place.
real quick to the election. I'm hopeful we'll do 2 more shows between now and November. What's your take? Who takes the Senate? Who takes the House? Willie Brown.
Democrats will control the Senate and Democrats may win the House.
Really?
Whoa.
Wow.
What are you
Bold
drinking?
prediction. Wait a
Well,
second. He said
what are you
that in
drinking?
2006.
Interestingly
and you didn't
enough,
think it would happen.
the elections this year have reduced themselves to being local. And in local elections, Democrats do a hell of a lot better because they actually deal with issues affecting people.
If they can get out the vote.
That
for a
is correct.
midterm.
And if they can drive,
midterm.
if
Yeah, they
can
get
do
enough
the
people to
turnout.
vote.
Yeah, and believe me, if they experience what they experienced in 2010, then the Republicans will win everything. If they experience what they experienced in 2012 without Obama, we will win. Hold on to the Senate, and we could win the House back, and Nancy could be.
So what
Speaker.
impact do you think that the president's desire to delay the immigration executive orders will have on any of this?
That's a mistake. He should have literally
Done it?
No, he should have allowed all of the issues involving immigration to
go on the
confront the
record.
Republicans. That's right. He should allow it to confront the Republicans. And believe me, when that happens, you're going to generate a higher degree of interest in being pro-Obama. What we can't stand, though, is that if this election is a referendum on Obama,
Right, absolutely.
both houses go
Going
down
down, right.
to
Well,
sterling defeat.
in January and February, we heard this election was going to be a referendum on Obamacare.
Well, not now.
Not now.
Not now.
Not now because people have embraced it.
It's
by
amazing,
and large.
yeah.
not now.
And they've embraced it because it is their only access to health care.
Right.
Right.
All those governors that were raising all that hell, they have disappeared.
They've disappeared.
They don't even, because suddenly people are getting care, which is what Obama said.
Right. And the costs have gone down.
Correct.
And
No
that-
Costs have gone down.
Then on a final thing, and we'll have to close because we're out of time, the Senate voted this past week on overturning the Citizens United and getting that constitutional amendment, which I don't imagine will go past
Yeah.
Congress at this point.
Really? You don't think it'll make it
No.
past the House?
It needs 2/3
Yeah.
of John of Boner's people.
Yeah, Boner.
So I don't know. I want to thank all our guests today: Wilkes Bashford, John Burris.
I want
And-
a discount.
Our thank yous right now, our video partner, MySourceTV.com, Nick Bovis and the staff of Gold Dust Lounge, Lee Housekeeper of SF Stories, the Hard Rock Cafe, and Spritz Interactive Marketing for the Beach Blanket Babylon Burger Bites. And I'm your announcer and producer, Paul Wells, with Will Durst, Willie Brown.
And I'll see you at Comedy Day Sunday in Sharon Meadows.
And I would like to thank the executive director of Comedy Day
Yes,
for
let's hear it for
asking that
Debbie
wonderful
Durst.
question earlier.
Yes, and thank you for watching or listening.